Let's go.
Okay, welcome to this edition of Who the Heck Are We, episode 46 with the man himself, Eduardo Coseteng. But first, some promos to get out of the way. So, we are a member of the Globally Ballin network. So, check out Globally Ballin's YouTube page for all of our video episodes and subscribe and hit that bell button. Moving on, other shows in the network, the Globally Ballin podcast, learn about sporting opportunities around the world with Aaron Aronson. Next up, we have 5 minutes with for your analysis oriented show, and you get to hear it from athletes first themselves. And third, we have Hang Time with Denise Dinsay for your valuable conversations. And last but not least, we have An Eternity of Basketball with Noel, Charlie, and Sid as you get to relive the golden era of Philippine hoops. And again, our episode is sponsored by Chops to Go. Check them out and order from SM Bikutan, SM South Mall, and SM North EDSA. And last but not least, for our sponsors, we have Hinuluban, your delicious and healthy adlay. I feel healthy already just talking about it, Claudia. But anyway, let's bring in our guest, the first Filipino set to compete in British F4. And we got Eduardo Coseteng, of course. Let's bring him in.
Good, good. Can you hear us? All good?
Yeah, yeah, everything's good.
Okay, so how's it been over there in the UK? We know that all of the countries have their different situations with the pandemic. And how's it there, of course, because you're about to start your season already, if I'm correct.
Yeah, so the season starts at May 8th, I think the first round is. But yeah, in terms of the pandemic, it's been quite tough lately. But recently, I think they lifted a few things. School is now face-to-face instead of online. And yeah, you can eat at public restaurants now, just outside, not allowed inside.
So we see some development. You guys are opening up. Were you guys ever hampered? Like you said, oh, no going to the racetrack or anything. Just stay at home. Did it ever get that extreme over there?
I don't think it'll get that extreme for F4 Formula 4 because I think it's considered as an elite sport. So like I think it's same classification as F1. I could be wrong. I'm not really sure. But yeah, we haven't really been prohibited from testing anywhere for preseason.
All right. Yeah. So basically, maybe for our friends who aren't really into motorsport, how it works is F4, F3, 2, and of course F1, the granddaddy of it all.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then your team. Sorry, I forgot to ask you earlier. Is it Argenti? How do you pronounce your team's name?
Yeah, that's correct. It's called Argenti Motorsport.
Yeah. Maybe you could tell us how did you find your team? Did you go and show them maybe your karting highlights or anything? Did you do a tryout?
Yeah, obviously, I emailed a bunch of teams, gave them a resume on my achievements in karting, try to book some test dates to see how the team is. I think I messaged all the teams, and I've ended up picking Argenti and another team and see which one's better. And I just thought Argenti was just more professional and more wanting to do good, basically. So yeah, I chose them.
Before we get to you, Claudia, maybe getting in the meet, maybe on how they stood out. Did you see maybe, they have a certain style of running things in the paddock, on how they get their drivers to acclimatize to the systems? Is that exactly what got you to choose them, maybe, given all your options?
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that. I mean, if you're an F4, it's not like F1. It's not as professional, but that's just the mentality, I mean, I think even if you're in F4, you should be as professional as possible. It's just a good thing to do, really.
All right,
Claudia.
So yeah, Eduardo, I'm familiar with the F4, not F4, F1, right?
Yeah.
But I want to go back to how you actually started your racing career. I know your father. In my generation, your father was an amazing race car driver.
Yeah.
He started go-karting, and then I think he was starting to race. I would watch in Batangas, Jody Coseteng, your father.
Oh, BRC. Sorry.
Yeah, the BRC,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then because my biological father, not my stepdad, but my biological father used to drive the Mustang. So the heavy cars, and before that was the your dad would be driving, and I would always hear Jody Coseteng. It's like amazing. And then
Yeah.
suddenly we have you here, the son of Jody Coseteng. So how did he influence you, or what was your drive? Is it something that you wanted to do when you were young?
Well, I mean, obviously, as a kid, being a boy, you usually look up to your dad, as a father figure. And I was always at the racetrack, anyways. At BRC, at Clark, at Subic, all those tracks I was always at watching my dad race. So I think it's only natural following his steps. I think he introduced me to karting, and I liked it and wanted to be like him when I was older. And here I am.
Wow. And did you dream as well? Like, I want to actually win more trophies than my father.
Um,
Competitive, eh?
Yeah.
it was really like I wanted to be better than my dad. I just wanted to be the best that I can be. See how far my determination gets me, how far I'll go in motorsports. Yeah.
And you started with go karting. So how was it your first journey going into go karting, the cart? How did it feel coming in then?
From karting to F4 or from just
From
learning
the first
karting?
time to start, yeah, like, hey, I'm gonna be driving. Or were you
Yeah,
were you given those toys when you were young, and the little
I don't think I remember. I think those really small electronic cars. And
yes, yes,
Oh,
that's
like
right.
gas pedal
yes.
and it goes really slow. Yeah, I think I had a bunch of them. Yeah, anything with wheels really I enjoyed when I was younger.
Okay. And then when you got into the first go karting racetrack, uh,
Yeah,
what
I
was
think I
going through your
started
mind then?
in. I forgot where I think I started in a track in Pasig. It's called Boom Land Kart track.
Oh, yes.
It's
Boomland.
yeah, yeah, and now it's just for rental carts. But not before they used to have like national championships
Uh-huh.
there. But yeah, I remember um just being really excited. I didn't really like braking in the corners. I usually just carried too much speed and then slide everywhere and lose so much time. Yeah, I just really like the rush.
You're in the need for speed. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Was there any race car movies that influenced you as well?
No, no. It's hard to it's hard to make movies quite realistic for racing. I mean, Drive to Survive is actually quite realistic from
Oh, boy, yeah.
Netflix. Yeah, it's probably the most realistic series or movie out there. But yeah,
Why?
not really.
Why is that? It's different when it's on the movies. Of course, they make it a little
Yeah,
Hollywoody.
yeah. I think it's more on it's more for people who don't really know about motorsport. The movie is usually for them rather than the people who actually know motorsport. So yeah.
And then did you have learn as well of the mechanics, getting into the engine? Because I have other questions prior to that. Because a friend of mine was also a race car driver, and he said knowing the in and outs of an engine will also help the car driver.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, as a driver, I don't think we learn much about the engine. It's more on the kart setup. Once you get older, get more mature, be better as a racing driver. You learn what your driving style is, and you tune the car or kart to what you want. So giving it more front end grip or rear grip, the basics, things like that, will definitely help you.
Oh gosh, I have a lot more questions about race car driving and all
Oh,
that. But
we
Clara,
have
that's,
our
that's all you.
we have our Racing 101 later. I'm excited.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because talking about driving style, I'm gonna jump ship a bit. Drivers have so many different styles. Like Alonso's been known for like his discarte of improvising in whatever situation
Yeah,
he is. Lewis Hamilton's known as the guy who's outright quick. Jenson Button maybe
yeah.
is more of a thinker. What is your driving style, maybe?
Mm, maybe usually calm and composed. That's what I think. Really, really light with the steering wheel input. Creating less crop as possible.
Uh-huh.
That's my driving style since I was in karting.
Now that you mention, I should have mentioned that guy's name, Nick Heidfeld, or like Jenson Button. They're known for being very chill in the tires and everything. But going
Yeah.
back with your karting beginnings, because where did you study, by the way, when you were in the Philippines before jumping ship?
Oh, I actually studied in Xavier School in San Juan City.
Ah, Savior. Okay, because you see that
Yeah.
there's basketball courts, and there's the
Yeah.
football field.
Yeah.
But how did you settle into karting? Because you see, the court is right there, the field is right there. There's that
Yeah.
gravitational pull, and if you gotta go karting, it's normally in the countryside. So
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
did you? Let's say distractions, or how did you get these other sports out and say, hey, nope, it's gotta be karting.
I mean, I played a lot of basketball and football when I was younger before I started karting. Once I started karting, I kind of didn't really lose interest, but I think karting caught my eye more than the other sports really. So I kind of had to give up the other sports and like basketball and football to pursue more sports.
So was it a thing like maybe you were karting maybe every other week and juggling your other sports? How did it work?
I mean, at first it was sort of like that. You know, I would get in a kart maybe twice a month, juggle it with other sports, and then it got more intense as the years come. And yeah, I eventually had to give up playing other sports and just focus on karting.
You don't got no, you don't have to be shy or anything. Were you getting busy or were you starting to win? They're like, hey, I can get a career here. Let's do it.
I mean, I'm not really sure. It's quite a long time ago. I think I won a couple of races then. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's because I was winning or if because I was too busy practicing. Probably both. You know.
How often would you practice, Eduardo, for karting?
Well, it depends. I mean, when I moved to the UK around 2017, that's when I started taking karting to the next level. You know, I was basically out on the kart 2 or 3 days a week. You know, every weekend, Friday to Sunday, I always have a race or just a test days, and yeah, it's out every time.
Wow. I'm
That's
looking at
nice.
your photos, and how could you describe how it feels like being in the wheel of a go-kart? Okay, the reason why I asked, because I only went go-karting like once or twice, and it actually
No
scared me.
way.
Yeah, but I could do it again, but
Okay,
I was
Yeah.
in
okay.
Australia. It was pretty scary. But for someone like, do you need like like an adrenaline rush prior to getting to sitting down on the wheel, sitting on the seat in the cart?
Not really. I mean, I think your nerves kind of take over before you go out, prepare for what you're gonna do, and everything just comes really quite naturally. You know.
I'm not. When I'm in the car, I turn it to like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Is that does that happen to you when you when you get into go karting?
um.
Is your attitude different when you sit down on the wheel?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, before you go out, before like before like the finals in a race or something, you have this switch where you um just change your attitude. You know, you're more focused. Just getting in the zone, things like that. Really, yeah.
Getting in the zone. I want to ask what your ritual or
Yeah.
pre-race rituals.
Um, I usually I don't know. I get my earphones on. You know, play EDM. I actually listen to EDM before I go out. Yeah. Yeah, just gets me pumped up, you know. Yeah, then I do a bunch of skipping ropes, stretch, basic stretching, yeah, that's it really. Sit down with my mechanic, have a chat, just calm myself down before the race, and yeah.
Nice, nice. Okay, Claro.
Speaking of this approach with karting and all the things you're doing, and then you're transitioning to a formula car or a single seater, did you have to change it up, or can you still do the skipping ropes and everything before hopping into your F4 car? Because we see some F1 drivers doing all sorts of things, juggling and skipping rope. Did
Yeah,
you change it up from karting
yeah.
to single seater?
I didn't really change anything. More just added stuff. I do some neck warm ups, so someone would push against the side of my head or the back, I'll just press against them, just for neck training, just for warm up. More skipping rope again, juggling, reaction tests with tennis balls. My engineer would hold the balls
Yeah.
like this, and he would drop one without telling me. And I sort of have to catch it, train my reaction time to make sure I'm sharp before I get in the car. Yeah.
Before we get you, Claudia, maybe for some F1 fans, guys, watch before the race, and that's what guys like Pierre Gasly do. They hold the tennis balls and they have to catch them and
Yeah.
everything. And then you got
Yeah.
something, Claudia?
Yeah, because you said Pierre Gasly said that does that because there was a video of an F1 driver doing that. For the listeners out there, Eduardo, could you help us understand why do you have to do that? What's the reason for that kind of exercise?
The exercise is more on. It's a mixture of hand-eye coordination and reaction times. When you don't really have the time to practice your reaction times while you're driving, it's better to be sharp as possible, then get in the car and be ready.
Right. Prior to that, were you also having that kind of exercises back home here, or did you start it when you were already in the UK?
I only started doing that when I got to Formula 4. I didn't really did do any of those reaction tests when I was in karting.
And how was your progression from the start of trying to catch the tennis balls to?
I think it was okay. I think my reaction time and hand-eye coordination is pretty good because I've been racing for so long, it should be pretty good. It'd be scary if I didn't have good reaction times.
So
Quite worrying.
if you started and stuck with basketball or football, do you think your reaction time will be just the same as?
No, I don't think so.
No,
Yeah.
it would be different. No, different set of skills, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Claro.
There's such a big responsibility in racing because you're driving a faster car every time, so you have your reaction skills also, I guess, to protect you and everything and to be competitive. But we want to go with your journey. Maybe did you have to pick up any wins in the Philippines to say, oh hey, I can make it to the big stage in Europe? We have a picture over here. I think you're in the podium in Macau. How was
Yeah.
it? Did you have to rule like the local competition at first before making your way to say, oh hey, some UK teams can actually consider me and make that big jump? Because I know that you continued your karting in the UK.
Yeah. I mean, when I started competing nationally, I always wanted to compete in around Asia, but my dad wasn't really keen on me competing around Asia until I started winning. So he kind of took it as when I won in the nationals, I'll go to Asia, and if I win Asia, I'll go to Europe, and so on and so forth. I kind of had to, bit of a cheesy word, like conquer every country, every region I go through first, and go higher and higher every time.
Was it ever in your head like, oh, I gotta win this because if I don't win here, they're not gonna let me progress to the Asians? And then when you were in the Asians, were you like, oh, I gotta win this because this is the next step to Europe? Was that ever in the back of your head, maybe, that, oh, my career depends on this? Because I know that it's so results oriented. You gotta finish in the top.
Yeah. I mean, not really. No, I just try to win every race I've entered. I didn't really think about what was next. I just thought about what was ahead of me, like the race that weekend.
So one step at a time, and that seemed to get you really far. I'm really curious though. Did you recall maybe your first title when you was it the first tournament you joined maybe and said, hey, I think we're here to compete. We can really finish in the top and not just come up with numbers.
I don't think that was my attitude because I was quite young then. I don't think a 9-year-old would be like, "Hey, this is something we would do when we get older." I think, not really sure. I think maybe my first podium in Asia. I think that's when I was. Well, I don't know how old I was then, but yeah, probably my first podium in Asia outside the Philippines. Probably when I thought that we could do really well in this championship.
Of course, you step up from Philippine level to the Asian level. How was it? Maybe how was the level of competition much higher for you?
Yeah, I was overwhelmed how good they were. From 10, 15 people on the grid to like 30 drivers on the grid. A lot tougher, a lot more. They all wanted more. It's tough. My first year I wasn't even in the top 10. I was struggling to get into the top 10, and I've progressed to the next year. And yeah.
What was it maybe because that allowed you to progress the next year other than the learning experience? Did you see like, oh, I saw this driver doing this to me, so maybe I can improve in my braking maybe, or my
Yeah,
exit?
it's just that basically. I mean, you can't really learn how to beat the other drivers rather than learning from them. You kind of have to learn what they do, and then add a bit to what you think is right in order to beat them. So yeah, I think a year of racing with them, racing around them, helped me learn quite a lot and develop me as a driver. And the next year I was ready for the championship.
Okay, so I forgot to ask this earlier, but
Go ahead.
I heard that there were rivalries. I made one. Wow, I think I visited Carmona once and got to borrow a cart. And they said that there was a rivalry of Marlon Stockinger and that's Guidicelli. Did you have any
Yeah,
rival? Yeah, I heard of the rivalry. Yeah. Did you
yeah.
have
I
your
had
rivalry like that? Like the guy ended up becoming your close friend or something like that? Before we get to you, Claudia.
um when I was in cadets, I was like maybe 11 years old. There was this Australian guy who lived in the Philippines. He was really good. Yeah, he was probably my first rival. It's always me or him winning the races. He was a year older than me with a year more experience, and that's quite a lot if you just start. But yeah, he was my rival. Then his name was Flynn Jakes. I don't know if you guys know him, but yeah.
That's a cool name.
Perfect,
Flynn
Claudia, to
Jakes.
segue because you are Australian after all, right?
Yes, yeah. So I lived in Australia for 10 years, and there's several Australian drivers and all that. What like I want to actually go back to your dad because that he was the one I watched. Was he strict when you started go karting
Yeah,
in
he
terms
was
of
really
like your
strict.
braking, right? And
I
all that.
mean, I think in terms of the driving, I think he kind of let me do. He kind of let me did my thing. Like because the style back then compared to now is different. You know, karting's involved with a lot of technology, and technology always develops every time, and the driving style will change due to that. And yeah, so he kind of left it to the mechanics, the coaches, to tell me how to drive. He's more strict on like as a kid, you'd always want to play with your friends, and there's many kids at the track to play with. And
Yeah.
yeah, he kind of always got mad when he caught me playing like football with other kids at the back of the track. He always tell me to sit down and just drink water and do nothing.
Oh, really? He
Yeah.
won't even let you touch a football. He said, "Oh, you might. He
No,
probably
like
say,
literally, just the fact that I was in the sun walking or running, you'd get mad and tell me to come to the pit and sit down.
"Oh my gosh."
Yeah.
Well, it worked. It worked, I guess, because you were probably speaking to all the mechanics and watching what was
Yeah,
happening.
for sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, as a kid, you don't really understand why you have to rest. What's the benefits from staying rather than playing with your friends. But it's what a kid does. Well, at a young age, you just always love to play.
Did you ever sit in the passenger seat when your dad was driving? How was he driving on the road, and how was he when he was on the racetrack?
Actually, in the road, he's never actually gone past the speed limit. Every time I was there, at least. Yeah, he's never really broken any rules. He's quite calm when he drives. But yeah, I'm not sure if I been in the passenger seat when he was racing. I think I have. Not really sure. I was too young to remember. Probably some
Oh
pictures would
wow,
remind me if I did or not.
that's right. So
Yeah,
you're in the UK now.
yeah.
Tell us more what you're actually doing there aside from your driving. Like how's the life
Um,
there? Yeah.
yeah. I go. I'm in a boarding school right now with in Cambridge. Um, I have to finish this year and do one more year, and I graduate to uni.
Nice.
Uh, yeah, it's not a lot of things I to do here because the reason why I moved to the UK is purely just because of racing, not anything else. So yeah.
Well, at least one more year. You have your university set up on which university you want to go to.
Not yet. No, I think. I mean, I was looking at Oxford and university in London, but I think for
Nice.
now, I think maybe I have to pause uni. University. I'll probably pursue racing first, see where that goes, and then my backup plan is go to university.
There, and that's where I give it back to Claro because I think that was what we were gonna. I was thinking. I think he's gonna take a break and probably study. Take a break from studying and probably like really focus on your racing career. No, so Claro.
Because if you ask me, that's how they do it in Europe and everything. Even in the sports,
Yeah,
well, the ball sports, football, basketball, they have that opportunity to pursue things and go pro. I think that's something that would be nice to see the Philippines adapt, of course. But going on with your team, with Argenti and everything, so there's so many F4 platforms because countries have their own versions of it. I think Southeast Asia, they have one too.
yeah,
How did you get straight to British F4? Because that's like a very high level again, as we mentioned, because you have F1 teams who are your neighbors over there in the different factories and you name
yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, I think I chose the UK because I already it's only reasonable to join British F4 in the UK because I already live in England. It'd be weird if I lived in England and did Italian F4 or French F4. But yeah, I think even the championship is quite good. The graduates from British F4. I think Lando Norris came from British F4.
Yeah,
I'm not
yes,
sure if
yes.
George Russell. Yeah, there's a lot of F1 stars that came from British F4. So yeah, that's why I chose it.
And that's exactly where we want to go because you search up British F4 and there's some good company there. You see, I think Lando Norris was one of the first guys to pick up the title and like the
Yeah,
latter eras. And then you're in this platform. How does it feel? Maybe do you have to pinch yourself and say, "Hey, I'm somewhere that can actually propel
yeah.
me up," or are you just like you're just going with the flow with things? How are you taking
I
it?
exactly that. As soon as I did my first, like before actually driving to the racetrack, before my first test, I was already buzzing. I was like, am I dreaming? It's the dream come true. Really, it was. Yeah, it's quite exciting. And even my first ever lap in an F4, I remember under my helmet, I was just so excited. It's a Formula car. Graduating from karting. It's just what every driver wants to do.
And normally, of course, well, not normally, because the driver's emotions, of course, are hidden in a helmet. So that's some
Yeah,
side of racing that we don't get to see. But now we know if we get footage of your first laps in your F4 car, we know that you were smiling. No donuts or anything to
yeah,
say, "Hey, I got this, I got this." No donuts yet.
yeah. Yeah. I was definitely smiling under my helmet my first few laps. Yeah, just buzzing the whole time.
Oh, and
There you go.
also, um, this is from a family friend of mine. He might be a familiar name, also in the karting scene in the Philippines, Raymond Kodala. So,
Oh
what's up,
yeah, I know
Raymond?
him.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I know
Raymond.
him.
I'll say this now. He taught me everything I know in karting. So Raymond has a question. He sent
Okay,
this in. Well, first he said, "Congrats on the move," and he's happy to see you progress. So his
thank you.
question
Yeah,
is, what is the difference of a go kart and the Formula car, and how was your
yeah.
transition?
It's
It's
a
so
really good
huge.
question.
Yeah.
It's a good question. Yeah, I mean, it's taken me quite a few days in the car to adapt. So much to consider, from karting. The speed, from going karting was like I think maybe 80 or 90 kilometers an hour to 230 kilometers an hour top speed of a F4 car, and going carrying that much speed with more grip, more G-force. The seating position is different. The steering wheel angle is different. More downforce. All that in consideration is just a lot, so much different. took me quite a while to get the hang of things, but I think at the end I've got used to everything.
Speaking of downforce, getting a little bit technical. So you're in the F4 and there's more downforce. Did you ever go, hey, this corner seems so much easier than I initially thought? Because maybe you still may be thinking in the sense of a go-kart where you might have to lift off, something like that. Did any corners get easier in that sense?
Not really. It's more on when there's heavy wind. If there's a lot of headwind, you could go so much faster in the corner because it's basically pushing the car downwards and giving you more grip. Basically, yeah, those are one of the thoughts.
Before we get to our first pit stop or our commercial, one thing is, how was it balancing the throttle? Maybe because that's a lot of horsepower there. I think if you don't get things right in, let's say, Filipino terms, making it timpla, you might get some wheel
Oh,
spin in
okay.
the back. How was that maybe in finding that right groove in the throttle?
I think my first test, I thought there's so much power than the car actually had, but it's actually such an underpowered car. It's
Mm.
not a lot of power in the car. You could actually just slam your foot on the gas pedal coming off the corner.
Full send.
Yeah.
Claro's a carter. You're a carter, di ba, Claro?
Well, medyo nakakaya naman my credibility now, Claudia. No? I did. I signed up for the Saudi World Series qualifiers. So I did a
Oh
race.
yeah.
Well, we did two races in one day, one quali. I finished in the top half. Okay, I'm happy to say I
Okay.
didn't lose any places in the race.
Uh,
And then the pandemic came in. Unfortunately, I was looking forward to it, of course, because maybe for our listeners,
yeah.
you have the people pursuing a career with guys like Eduardo and everything, but the recreational people, you can just literally arrive and drive, and then you get to race with people. So that's something I was just doing on the side on Sundays. So anyway, Claudia, let's get on with our quick break. We have our pit stop here. So episode 46 of Who the Heck Are We? And check us out. We are on the YouTube page of Globally Ballin. Subscribe and hit that bell button. And we carry on again. Check out our sister shows. We have the Globally Ballin podcast and learn about the sporting opportunities around the world with Aaron Aronson. We also have 5 minutes with For Your Analysis, as you get to hear it first from athletes themselves, real quick. And we have hang time for your volleyball talk with Denise Dinsay, of course. We had some great guests. We have Ayel Estranero as one of the recent ones. And last but not the least, we have an eternity of basketball where you again join Charlie, Noel, and Sid to learn about the golden era of Philippine hoops. And again, thank you very much to our sponsors, Chops to Go. Get your tender, yummy chicken chops with crispy chips. Check out their branches in SM Bikutan, SM South Mall, and SM North EDSA. Last but not the least, Hiniluban, get your delicious and healthy adlay from them. Anyway, let's carry on back. That was too long for a pit stop. We lose a race. Yeah.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I wanna go back to the difference between the F4 and go karting. In go karting, do you have pit stops?
No, not at all. No, we don't. There's no pit stop.
And now F4, you do have
No,
have
there's
pit
no pit
stop.
stop as well.
None
No,
as
no.
well. Okay, now see, this is where I have to learn about the difference between the F1, F2, F3, and then F4. So, but with your F4, Claro will be able to help me with that one. But with go karting, do you also have a team with you, like your mechanics?
Yeah, definitely.
And then how important are they? Can you bring them to your F4 team?
No, I don't. Not really. I mean, they kind of specialize. The teams in karting kind of specialize in their area. They specialize in karting, and the F4 team specialize in F4. So you can't really bring them up.
What are the main differences in terms of the mechanics or then the background of
I
go-karting
mean,
in F4?
it's more on the differences in staff roles. In karting you had the data man, driver coach, team manager. You had the engine man. You had the mechanic, And then in F4 you have mechanic as well, data coach as well, driver coach. You have your manager, and the only new thing is engineer. You have a engineer set to a driver. So they usually do a motorsport engineering course in university, and then get a few years of experience in Formula 4. And yeah.
Wow. So there's a big adjustment in terms of also managing your team or speaking to them, no? In terms of your,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for
How
sure.
was the transition there?
Yeah, it's hard, because you're not really familiar with the car. You don't really know what the car wants yet because you're not too familiar with it. So yeah, it's more on them telling you how to adapt to the car, like how to drive it, basically, what the car wants, and you kind of get those tips and come up with your own conclusion, and then you give them your feedback and see what you feel, and he'll come up with something. Your engineer will come up with conclusion if it's whether it's car setup related or whether it's just my driving related. You know.
Ooh, wait, before I head to you, Clara, because that's a good thing that you said. So there's also a difference between the way the car is all about, well, the in and outs of the
Yeah.
car, and the driver itself, right?
Yeah.
Can there be a mix match? Like the driver is not good for the car, or the car is not good for the driver?
I mean, I think all drivers, if all drivers had the same setup, I think they would be close to each other, But
Hmm.
sometimes some driver styles like maybe more front end, or they like more understeer, and that will help them be faster around the ultimate lap time. So sometimes you have to do tiny tweaks with the car to 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 make it, one with the driver and the driving style.
One with the driver. I love that. That's
I
so
love that.
good.
That sounds so
Yeah.
good.
All right, Clara.
Okay, speaking of, someone likes oversteer or understeer, what is your style maybe?
Um, I've always liked oversteer, even in karting. I've kind of carried it on till cars and Formula 4. Yeah, oversteer. I usually prefer oversteer rather than understeer.
Okay. Uh, Not a driver here. Could you please explain over? No, it's good because I wanna for also listeners.
Exactly.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I mean, well, oversteer is when you have a lot of front end grip, so the car will point wherever it wants, and the rear will kind of follow. So sometimes the rear will slide, cause a bit of scrub, and understeer is the opposite. Basically, it's basically the rear is quite planted, and the front understeer, so it's not quite sharp with the front.
Sorry. Follow up question, Clara. Sorry. How does
Go
that
ahead, go
make a
ahead.
difference in terms of racing? Uh,
I mean, it depends on what the driver wants. If some drivers are quite aggressive with the wheel, so they might like a bit more understeer, or some drivers like me are really gentle and light with the wheel, so I'd prefer oversteer.
okay. For my own, like in Formula One, who's a understeer? Who's a oversteer? So maybe I.
I don't know. It's quite hard to tell because
Oh, I
Formula
think I got
One's
this. I think I
Really?
got this.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Don't judge.
Okay.
Because who the heck are we?
Yeah.
Okay. So I know Vettel likes understeer, I think.
yeah.
That's why he was doing so well, because he's the type who likes to get in the gas really early. Eduardo, you can step in once you say I'm something. Say I'm some. See, I'm saying something wrong. Okay. So I know Vettel likes to brake very early and accelerate early, and
Okay.
that's a style where you like understeer. Where, let's just say, the car turns a bit late. That's how I can put in perspective of non-racing people. And then you have a guy like Michael Schumacher, like what I think Max Verstappen too, like what Eduardo likes, where I think oversteer, the car is sensitive. So you're gonna point it right and it's going to go there immediately. So I
Yeah.
think it's a matter, in a nutshell, maybe for the non-racing listeners, thank you so much for joining us. So oversteer, the car is really sensitive, and understeer, maybe it's a little bit slower in reacting. To put it
Yeah.
that way. Yes.
Okay. I'm not a race car driver,
It's our racing 101, right?
but I love watching F1. But I don't know the in and outs of it. I don't understand the details of it and all that. So it's good that to have Eduardo here to teach me.
Or to teach us, if you ask
Oh,
me.
there you go.
Okay, so we have some racing misconceptions. I remember a teacher saying this. Well, I was hoping you could debunk this. People say
Okay.
racing is about who can step on the gas pedal the hardest. In my head, I'm like, bro, it's not like that. Come on. I'm like, man, could you please debunk this for us, Eduardo? I didn't want to get sent out of class.
Well, I mean, if you there's a limit on what the throttle has because there's a cable. So once you pull the cable to its maximum, it'll stop. So no matter how hard you press, the cable will always go the same amount of distance. So you wouldn't get any faster if you press the gas pedal harder. It'd probably break, and you probably go slower and just end up not finishing the race.
I need to send this to my teacher.
Yeah, you passed that. You passed that subject, no?
Oh well, yeah. I got to college, so I passed that class. Of
Okay,
course,
good.
that was high school.
Yeah.
Okay. No, because after all, if I may add, if you're in a U-turn or a hairpin in racing perspective, if you step on the pedal as hard as you can, you're not gonna make the turn, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you make a U-turn in your average Toyota Vios or your jeepney. Step on the gas as hard as you
Yeah,
can.
you just go straight. Yeah.
Exactly.
You'll fly off.
That's the wrong
Yeah.
definition of full send.
Yeah.
Okay. Before I get back to you, Claudia, this is another racing thing. Maybe just to enlighten our listeners. People wonder, why does everyone follow each other in one line around the racetrack? Because you see the freeway, right? You have 5 lanes. So all the cars will take up the lanes. But what is this one lane that they have, which I know is called the racing line? But perhaps you could tell us, why do you guys take that one path?
I mean, it's all related with physics. It's more on traveling the least amount of distance while carrying the most amount of speed at the same time. So you kind of have to go. If there's a right-hand corner, you kind of have to go to the leftmost side of the track and cut back to the rightmost side on the apex and go back to the left to carry the ultimate speed.
So
Okay.
you can say
Yeah,
that is the discarte to make sure that you are always on the highest possible speed. Am I right?
Yeah, it's all the basics really. That's what you learn in your first day in a kart. The racing
I think
line,
that that debunks it too for people who say racing is just cars following each other, one after the other, like a choo-choo
Oh,
train. But we just want
Well,
to
they're not
enlighten
wrong,
people, of course.
Wait, there is one. Okay, I'm gonna put a movie which is actually not really like F1 or F2. I'm not sure, Eduardo. Have you heard of Talladega Nights?
Oh, this movie.
No, actually, I don't think
You haven't watched it?
No.
Oh, it's
It's really
national.
familiar though.
You might lose brain cells because of the slapstick, but me as a racing fan,
Okay.
like I loved it.
You should watch it because it's funny. It's like
Okay.
yeah, it takes a kick out of racing. But there's a term there that what's his Will Ferrell says, which is the slingshot, right?
Okay.
So it's where
yeah.
I think it's slingshot. Is it
Yeah.
slingshot?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
so,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Slip streaming, yes, also
yeah,
as they
streaming.
call it.
So could you please explain that? Like, do you do that a lot in racing? Since
Well,
you said that there's a line, right? So can that help you?
Yeah, I mean, with slipstream, it's basically because the driver in front is hitting all the air, and
Right.
basically when you're behind him, the air spreads out and you don't hit any air, so you'll obviously travel in a faster speed than him. So you kind of have to follow his line,
Yeah.
and then when you carry enough speed, you can pull out and hit your own air and carry that momentum all the way.
A lot of drivers do that nowadays, huh?
Yeah, that's what you learn also as part of the basic concepts with racing, especially with a high speed track. When there's a lot of headwind pointing your direction, there's a lot of difference in slipstream. I mean, the first round in WTHAW in Thurkston, we were testing there I think a few weeks ago, and there was like half a second difference with slipstream and no slipstream because of the headwind. It was massive,
Wow, really?
Yeah,
So, okay,
might be even
so
more.
wow, so there's a head. So with racing, there's a big difference with the weight of the driver getting into the car,
Okay, yeah,
right?
yeah,
The wind, and even the tires. Apparently, the how
yeah,
much air or psi there is in the tires. How does that
yeah.
work?
There's more on the grip and how much grip you have for the start and the end of the stint. I mean, if you go out with too low of pressures, you'll be slow from the first half of the stint. Probably the last few laps you'll be really fast. If you go out too high, you'll be really fast for the first 5 laps, and you'll be really slow for the next. So it's up to the teams to adjust to the abrasiveness of the track,
Right.
the temperature of the weather, how cold it is, the temperature of the track as well, and yeah, they make
So
sure
many
they try to
factors.
make your grip. Yeah, it's a lot. That's why you have That's why the racing driver doesn't. They don't calculate that stuff. You have an engineer do it for you.
It's crazy. Ah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
All right.
maybe before we wrap up our Racing 101, got two things. What is the proper way to warm up tires? Because when I'm driving a kart, I just go left and right, and I step on the gas for some spin, and I don't even know if it helps or if I'm doing it right. But what is the proper way, maybe, to warm up tires? Yes.
Well, are you asking for a go kart or a car? Because it's completely different if to warm up both.
Um, do you mind giving us both, maybe, given that you're an
Okay.
F4, of course, and karting,
Yeah.
maybe, because we know that maybe some people who want to get into racing can simply just go to our neighborhood racetrack and try out a go kart. Yeah.
I mean, for karting, if you live in a tropical country like the Philippines, warm up's not really necessary because it's quite hot and the grips are already there in the first lap. But the people in the UK, you race like when it's -2 degrees, 0 degrees. It's when the track's really cold and there's no grip at all. I mean, it's all about creating as much scrub as possible and carrying more speed. You going left and right without sliding isn't really gonna do anything. It's more on you have to exaggerate the steering wheel into the corner, go full lock this way or full lock the other way, and creating a lot of scrub because friction when tires rub with the asphalt creates friction and creates heat and yeah, warms up your tires.
Don't judge me. I wasn't warming up my tires properly.
What
Yeah.
were what were you doing this?
Oh, I think I just haven't figured out the throttle part, maybe, and the lock.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I don't think you can turn the wheel all the way in the Philippines when you go karting because it's quite hot. So if you do that, you'll just spin. I don't think it's necessary to warm up your tires when you live in a hot country.
I
Crazy.
feel better about the hot country part, though.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe for those who need a bit of a racing 101. So how it works is bouncing off Eduardo. You get your tire heat into your tires from all the friction, and then that gives you grip. So grip, of course, you get to pretty, pretty much go as fast as you can. Make sure you
Yeah.
carry as the highest speeds possible from one corner to another. Hence, faster lap time. Like what they say, if you ain't first, you're last. Oh no,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's the movie we want you
That's
to
the
watch.
movie.
Sorry,
Don't
I
tell them.
spoiled the
Yeah,
movie.
no, and you
I
should
spoiled the
really
movie.
watch it. It's
Yeah, okay.
it's it's
Yeah.
it's funny. It's really funny. It's
Okay.
like yeah,
What's the movie called again?
Talladega
Talladega
Nights.
Nights. We'll send you
Okay.
the
Yeah.
name. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
Okay.
And
it's
Okay.
then
I'll watch it.
yeah.
one day, if you have an open invite to come back on the podcast, and we can just talk
Okay.
Talladega Nights for one episode, and you can tell us, no, this isn't legit. No, this is real.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And then we'll be happy. I don't want to say the other things, because I'll wreck the movie. But
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
it
I'll,
will
I'll
get you
go. I'll
laughing.
go watch it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
in your free time, of course. But all right. So for you, maybe you guys, of course, in qualifying, the fastest person will start in the front of the race. And do
Yeah.
you say that the fastest person in qualifying made the perfect lap? Do you say that?
Mm, they not really the perfect lap. It's a mixture of the perfect lap and create like how do you put this in words? Making the best of the situation. Because some drivers it involves with track position. If you don't position your car well enough, you'll end up catching the guy in front, and he'll be blocking you, and you won't go as fast. So it's a mixture of the timing and the perfect lap time to get on pole for the race one.
So it's about positioning your car well and finding the throttle
Yeah,
and everything. And there's
yeah,
traffic also involved, right?
yeah,
Not
yeah.
EDSA
That's why you have to
traffic,
have yeah,
But what will happen maybe if there's traffic? Will someone go, "Oh, yo, I'm gonna slow you down here because I don't want you to go faster than me." That's basically how it works, right? But I know that you can get penalized for doing that on purpose.
Well, yeah. I mean, usually people don't do it on purpose because they're focused on getting the ultimate lap time. But sometimes it happens, if you come across a slower driver or a slower car, you'll get traffic. You'll be in the way without doing it on purpose, and yeah, that'll just mess up your qualifying. So you need to have a really good track position and give a really good gap to the drivers in front.
Wow.
Okay, great answer. But
Um,
anyway, maybe we want to go maybe more on your career side
yeah.
now. We know that you want to go P1 or first overall in the championship. But as a rookie, what are your personal expectations? Like, I want to finish here. I want to finish as the top rookie, maybe, because I know that the rookies, you guys have like your own tournament or championship amongst yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, if you always want to win it, I mean, you're not just there just to take part. You're always there to be the best. If you don't go in with that mentality, why are you still a racing driver?
It's amazing.
Well,
Yeah. What the heck for, right? I mean, like if you don't
Yeah,
have that mentality, yeah. But
I hear
it's
some Ayrton Senna in there. If you don't go for a gap, I think you're not a racing driver anymore. I think Senna's the GOAT, by the way, guys. Just let us
yeah,
know.
really?
yeah. He's right
I
there
think
actually in
Senna's the
that
GOAT.
picture.
Oh, oh,
Yeah, he's in the back. That's why. That's him in the back.
oh, perfect
Yeah,
timing. Nice one, Claudia. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
that's
he's
him in
the
the
GOAT.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As much as I'm a Shumi fan, I think he's the GOAT. But I don't want to put you in the hot seat and talk about. We can save it for another round of this, maybe. But
yeah.
perhaps, what's your plan mapped out maybe beyond F4? We know we just started, but perhaps you can share with us your long-term plan for racing.
I mean, it depends on results. Obviously, I mean, if I do well this year, if I win it or come top three, there wouldn't be any reason why you would stay in F4. Then the next step would be Formula 3 or Formula Regional, probably the next step. But if I don't do so well, hopefully not. I'll do another year in F4. I mean, most drivers usually take 2 years to win in F4. I think there's only like two drivers that won it on their first year. One of them was Lando Norris, and I forgot the other guy. But yeah, usually it would take 2 years for you to win in F4. We'll
2
see.
years
Yeah.
mostly. You mentioned F3. Speaking of that, we know that there's the prestigious Macau GP, and
Yeah.
top drivers in the world get invited to that. Is there a certain criteria maybe like you have to win F3, top 3 in F3 maybe, or how does it work? I know because at times F3 is like the support race or they race before F1. So is there a
Yeah.
certain criteria to getting invited to the Macau
Um,
GP?
I'm actually not sure. I mean, I haven't really got to the point where I'm racing in the Macau GP, so I don't really know what's the how to qualify for it, how to get in the competition. But yeah, I'd love to race at that track. It's quite a cool track. But yeah, I'm not really sure how you get in it.
Mhm. But we'd love to see you in Macau because
Yeah.
it's just a few hours away by flight, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And
probably the closest track I'll do.
yeah, exactly. And maybe for the benefit of our fans who aren't really into racing, what we can do is I don't know if you guys watch PBA. But how the
I
Claudia?
watch PBA.
Yeah, do you see
You
the
watch
fans in
PBA?
the?
Okay.
You watch PBA? Do you see the fans in the
Yeah.
baseline, Claudia, for PBA?
Yeah.
They have their
Okay.
homemade banners, and
Yeah.
then they trash talk the opponents. That's what we. That's what the Pinoys can do. We'll do that in. We'll do
Yeah.
that in the. We'll do that in the first heavy braking zone in Macau. It's not turn
Yeah.
one. I forgot the name. I forgot the name of turn one. It's a 90-degree right-hander. So
90-degree? Isn't that too? Isn't
I
that
think it's a
too?
90-degree.
Isn't that too like sharp? No.
Too sharp.
Well, it depends on
Um,
how much space you have before the corner. But it's Macau, everything's quite sharp and tight.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
It's a
I
in a
know
street circuit.
it's such a long straight, and then it's a heavy braking zone. So hence it's an overtaking opportunity. But no, who knows? Like you know that you'll have support if ever you find your
Yeah.
way to the World
Yeah.
Cup in Macau. You got anything, Claudia?
Yeah. Actually, you watch the PBA, huh? Who do you
Yeah.
support? That is good.
It's quite. I can't really choose. I've 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 always liked three teams. Ginebra, I think the names always change. From time to time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's Ginebra, San Miguel, and Pure Foods. I think are those
Nice.
still teams right now.
They're still there.
yeah.
Pure Foods. Pure Foods now is Magnolia.
Oh, okay, yeah, Magnolia Hotshot, yeah.
So Ginebra and San Miguel, they're still the same. So, but I think
Yeah.
Ginebra now is Ginebra. One
Something like one Ginebra Nation.
Ginebra Nation. So they're
Yeah.
called one
Oh,
Ginebra,
okay,
but they're
yeah.
still Ginebra. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Claro and Eduardo, you guys were talking about uh the downshift and then the braking. Eduardo, I watched Formula One twice in Albert Park, Melbourne, and the noise of Formula One. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
Unreal.
unreal! After the I think after the race, I think I was drained. I was tired.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
does that
so
happen?
loud.
Does it happen as a driver? Is it the same as the noise level in Formula 4? F4?
No, it's not. It's not the same as an F4. It's a lot quieter in F4. But I remember my first ever test. I didn't have any earplugs with me, so I did my first day in a car without any earplugs. So at the end of the day, I just couldn't hear anything. I was just deaf.
Oops. Oops.
Yeah.
Oh, I was deaf. Oh my god! But like, you're inside the car, right?
Yeah.
How does it feel? Are you because in go-kart? I may be wrong. You feel like there's a lot of space, right?
Yeah.
In F4, is it the same, or are you in a
No,
tight?
you're like in a small tube, a small box. It's
Do you feel like-
it's pretty tight, claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Not really. No.
Wow.
I mean, your spatial awareness is different from karting, but you just get used to it.
Yeah, because in go-kart you see everything, huh? Like in the side.
Yeah, it's different. In a F4, you have to use your side mirrors. That's one thing as well to consider.
Oh right, because cards don't have side mirrors.
Yeah, you can just
You look back,
and
right?
you can see. Yeah.
Sorry, can I add? Are you supposed to look back? Yes or no? Because there was a guy who overtook me, and we were having a good chat about our battle. He said, "Oh, you're not supposed to look back because when you were looking back, I was hiding behind you, and when you looked forward, I snuck up on you and I got you." Are you supposed to look back, or how does it go?
So basically, you try to refrain from looking back as much as possible in karting, because when you look back, you don't really know it, but you get thrown off. Your focus isn't really quite there because you're worrying from the guy behind you rather than the guy in front of you. But when it comes to the last few laps and you're defending, you have to look back because you need to know where he is. So you need to cover the position where they are. But you try to refrain from it because it will slow you down, even without you noticing it.
I guess that answers it. I'll tell you if I get to hold back the guy next time. Claudia, you got something?
Before we go, I think we're almost in the 1 hour
Yes.
mark. Could you tell us a short description of the differences between F4, F3, F2, and F1?
I mean, every step basically has more aerodynamics and more power, basically, It's just basically, it's like just leveling up every time. Just more of everything, More grip, wider, because you have wider tires, more, you get more power, so you go faster, more downforce because of the aero. So yeah, every time you go up to F3, F2, and F1, you just just more of everything.
When does the pit stop come in?
I'm not sure if they do F3, but I think they do F2 and F1.
Aren't you
Not
excited?
so sure about F3. Well, not really, because if you do pit stops, that's probably because the race is long. I think short races are better because it's more intense.
Oh, why is that?
Because if the race is long, it's more on tire management, who has the best strategy, things like that. But if it's shorter, it's more on who's just the faster driver and the better driver in racecraft.
Wow.
Simply a
Okay.
sprint. Oh, it's a running race
Yeah,
from here to
sprint
the
race.
end.
Yeah.
There you go, sprint race. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so it's a sprint or a marathon, right?
Yeah,
In a
basically.
nutshell,
Yeah.
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 Because like a marathon, you run and people will give you water, so that's your pit stop.
Yeah. Yeah, same concept. Marathon, you kind of whoever lasts the longest can conserve the energy the best. Sprint race, whoever has the most acceleration, the most power.
Anyway, did you get to watch any F1 races live, by the way?
I've never watched an F1 race ever in my
Never.
life.
No, but I guess with F4 there may be a chance to just be. Well, you are close to F1 teams right now.
Yeah,
right?
maybe when they're at Silverstone, maybe I can watch. But the reason why I don't watch is because I'm always busy. I'm always racing or
Right.
in the gym or doing simulator work. Things like that.
And how is it? I think maybe you guys have any next door neighbors being in the UK because F1 teams are based there. Like I think you said Racing
it's a
Point
lot.
is a neighbor
Yeah.
of yours.
Yeah, should I say the story when I was
Go ahead.
So basically, there's an F2 team called High Tech, and I was there to do some fitness assessment, and I've ended up in the wrong place basically, and I've ended up inside the Aston Martin factory, Racing Point,
man.
and then I looked to my left, and there's Lance Stroll on the phone. I think it was him. It looked exactly like him. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that can't be Vettel. Vettel's Calbo. He shaved his head.
Yeah,
but
you
man.
can't be better. He had loads of hair, so
Okay.
must be Stroll.
That's gotta be Lance Stroll. So okay. Anyway, let's carry on with the quick fire round. You can just answer straight up. No need to explain. Some guys give unpopular answers and the feel to explain,
Okay.
but it's just quick. Other than your dad, who is your racing idol?
Leclerc.
Oh, Charles Leclerc.
Charles Leclerc.
Oh, okay. Ferrari man. Okay. You get to pick one F1 car and you get to take it around an F1 circuit. What are those? The car and the circuit. You can choose old F1 circuits too.
Just one car?
One F1 car maybe. It's maybe the
And
2010 Red
any
Bull.
circuit. I think
or the 2000 Ferrari, you name them.
this year's Red Bull car and track. It's quite hard. There's a lot of good tracks, Mexico, maybe. Mexico is quite a good track.
Mexico. That's a fun track in the video game too, if you ask me.
Yeah, it is.
That's all my experience. That's all my experience.
Yeah, same.
Okay. Hey, it's a fast track.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Okay. The thing you miss the most in the Philippines, other than your family?
Food.
Ooh.
Any specific dishes or anything?
I like my favorite's kare kare and surprisingly ampalaya. I don't know why. I just like ampalaya.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Hey,
Everyone has the exact same reaction,
You like ampalaya?
Yeah, it's the
Wow.
best. It's so good.
Oh my god. Okay.
Okay. My last two before Claudia. Your favorite restaurant. It can be the Philippines. It can be over there in the UK.
So hard. I don't know if you heard about it. It's called Kaya. It's a Korean restaurant in the Philippines.
Korean restaurant. Yes.
Yeah, in Rockwell. Yeah,
Oh,
I used to go there every time because of I used to play in the arcade quite a lot when I was a kid, and I would just eat there every time.
in time zone. On the
Yeah,
Power-
in Rockwell.
I think it's
Rockwell,
Power
yeah.
Station in Rockwell. We have a similar childhood in that sense.
Yeah.
Power
Yeah.
Station. Okay, favorite restaurant, and then let's say you get to bring 3 racing teammates to. Let's say there's Eat All You Can Kaya. You can choose any of your teammates from Philippines all the way up to your time now in the UK?
Well, teammates to join me in
Yeah,
Kaya.
3 teammates. So that's 3 plus you.
I don't know. I don't know. It's quite hard to choose. I think just myself. I'll just eat by myself.
All the food is his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
None,
best.
none of them can have it. Yeah, it's all mine.
All his. That's right. There you go.
Okay. That's the
All
most
right.
unique answer we've had. Go ahead, Claudia, with your
Yeah, I
quick
love it. I
fire
love it.
before we
All right.
end.
I think I only have like 2 or 3.
Sige.
Okay. First one, you're in the Formula One. Who would you like to race against? Michael
Hamilton.
Schumacher. Yeah, Michael Schumacher.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah, wait, Michael Schumacher or Lewis Hamilton?
Hamilton.
Oh,
Yeah.
why? Okay, this is different. Why?
Well, it's hard. I think the things that separates them is in terms of driving, because the car is different. You can't really tell who's better than who. But I think, yeah, it's just Hamilton's there recently has more achievements than him so far. I think so. Maybe it's
All
beating
right.
him would be good. Actually,
second-
funny story.
Go ahead,
my-
go ahead.
My school right now. I think Lewis Hamilton went to this school.
Oh wow.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't join because of this. I didn't join the school because of Hamilton joined.
Uh-huh.
They just told me like a month after I enrolled to the school. I was like, oh, cool.
Nice. Well, there. Hopefully you follow his path to
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. My second one. Today, if you were to race F4 or go-kart against your dad, who'll win?
What?
Yeah, actually, but
You.
the last time I raced against my dad, he beat me by 0.001 in a qualifying.
No way.
Yeah.
You were
This was a long
close
time
in
ago.
the
It's like-
finish.
yeah.
No way.
It was qualifying only. They didn't allow
Oh.
like real racing.
I get it.
Yeah.
Time trial, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Seriously?
Okay,
this-
so to wrap things up, Eduardo, perhaps you have a message to your sponsors, your family, all the people who've been supporting you until this point. And we know you're about to kick off or to start. So
Yeah.
maybe you want to invite Pinoy to support you. Where can we watch your races? If ever, we'll share a link.
Yeah, so basically thank you everyone for watching. It's been a pleasure guesting at the podcast. I'd like to thank my parents and all my sponsors, Petron and Autoplus, helping me since I was very young, probably one of the biggest reasons why I'm here today. And yeah, you could go follow me Instagram and Facebook and Twitter at Eduardo Coseteng. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, sorry. Here's one thing before you. Do you guys sign cards like the F1 drivers? Because if you do,
I think we will soon. I'm not sure.
I'd love to get a card because you'll have good company if we get a card. You'll be with Lewis Hamilton, Michael Schumacher, and my collection of sign cards. Alonso, Vettel, they're all there.
Okay, I'll go make one.
That'll be awesome. Yeah,
Send
but
it to us. Yeah.
no pressure
Yeah,
yet.
sure,
Eduardo,
sure.
thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining us. We'll
Thank
just put
you.
you backstage
It's
as Claudia and I will wrap up. We wish you all the best, and the Philippines will be behind you, no doubt about that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been an honor guesting at your podcast. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so that was a great episode, Claudia. We go racing 101, and we have a Filipino representing the Philippines in Europe, and that's like top level racing, of course. What do you
Yeah,
think
it
about
is.
this episode?
Yeah, and I'm pretty excited. I want to actually watch his career. Hopefully, he rises up to become just like what Lewis Hamilton. I'm not really a Lewis Hamilton fan, but the fact that you have a Filipino in F4, hopefully gets to F3 and F2, and then the first Filipino in F1.
Well, if we have any Pinoy who races like Lewis in top level, I don't mind. I don't
Yeah.
mind at all, right? I mean, Lewis, people say, "Hey, Lewis is just gonna win anyway," but hey, why not, right? If it's a
I know,
Pinoy,
right?
of course. Anyway, let's get on to wrap up with our commitments, of course. So again, Who the Heck Are We is a member of the Globally Ballin Network. Our episodes are available on video Check him out on the page of Globally Ballin. Subscribe and hit that bell button. And check out our sister shows, the Globally Ballin podcast with Aaron Aronson, where you look at sporting opportunities around the world. We have 5 minutes with also for your analysis oriented show. Hear it first from the athletes themselves. And then we have Hang Time for your volleyball conversations with Denise Dinsai. And last but not the least, we have An Eternity of Basketball, where you relive the golden era of Philippine hoops. They've had guests from the likes of Tim Cone all the way up to Normal Black. And again, who the heck are we? This episode is sponsored by Chops to Go. Check out their branches for your chicken chops and chips in SM Bikutan, SM South Mall, and SM North EDSA. And last but not the least, your delicious and healthy adlay from Hinaluban. In Luban rather. Check out their social media pages again. And that does it for the show with Eduardo Coseteng.